I
You
have
see, in einem
practically
fortgeschrittenen
endless
Studium
possibilities
gleichmäßig
for lighting
auszuleuchten, habe ich
myself
quasi
properly
unendlich
here
viele
in a controlled
Möglichkeiten.
environment.
Aber bin ich
But
unterwegs
if
auf
I'm
Reisen wie im
traveling in a
Hotel oder
hotel
vielleicht
or
sogar
even out
draußen in
in
der
nature,
Natur, dann habe ich
it's a
nicht die
completely
Möglichkeit,
different
einfach
story.
bildlose Softbox zu nehmen und
Suddenly, I
damit
can't just
auszuleuchten.
use any big
Und
light,
hier spielt das
and I
Thema
may
Größe
also be
und Gewicht für mich
severely
oft auf
limited in terms of
Dunkelzauben
power
plötzlich eine
and
sehr viel
weight.
größere Rolle.
And this is
Genau
exactly where the
hierfür kommt
Rollei
das
Lux
Rollei Lux
comes into
ins Spiel.
play. In my opinion, it manages a great balancing act between being a fully fledged 100-watt LED light, to which you can also connect softboxes and at the same time being extremely mobile. But you still have to make a few minor compromises. More on that later. You have probably already noticed how incredibly small this video light is despite its high performance. It is only slightly larger than a smartphone and perhaps twice as thick. Depending on which version you choose, you will either have a two-color light with 100 watts, where you can adjust the color temperature between 2700 and 6500 Kelvin, or a full RGB light, where you have 60 watts of power available. At just 345 gram each, both are also extremely light. In principle, the light consists almost entirely of a large LED and a fan to cool it if necessary. Visually, the design is modeled on a camera. Even a handle is indicated, and the buttons are similarly arranged. In my case, with the two-color 100-watt version, I have the power switch on the side and can then adjust the color temperature at the back and the intensity at the top. If necessary, this can also be adjusted in steps by clicking. Admittedly, at first I really wondered whether it was really necessary to try to imitate a camera one-to-one, and why they didn't just put two normal buttons next to each other on the back. But after using it for a while, I have to admit that it actually makes a lot more sense because it's so much easier to distinguish between the two controls, and I don't accidentally change the color temperature when I actually just want to make it brighter. That's a real plus point, as this has happened to me several times with other lamps. You also have a button on the trigger where you can set whether you only want to make the light adjustments directly on the device itself, in the Rollei app, or with a remote control. Special effects such as and changing the fan behavior cannot be set on the device itself. But I don't actually think that's a bad thing because it keeps operation extremely simple and intuitive, and, at least for me, I only use these special effects extremely rarely anyway. Most of the time, it's just a technically possible gimmick, so I also think it's a good solution. You can use it when you need it, but at the same time, the operation of the device itself remains simple. The connection on the front is based on the Bowens mount, but a little smaller. The standard scope of delivery includes a small reflector that directs the light in one direction and an optional silicone hood, which in turn ensures that the light is distributed more evenly in all directions. However, fitting these requires a little practice. Optionally, you can also purchase a small softbox, which has a diameter of approx. 25 centimeters. This even comes with a grid, which gives you even more control over the light. It can also be set up extremely quickly thanks to an ingenious folding mechanism. I have never seen this before and I find it extremely practical. Apart from that, we've already come to the first point that I don't like so much. Theoretically, the lamp easily has enough power to illuminate much larger softboxes. However, these usually have a regular Bowens connection, for which you would then need an adapter. Rollei itself doesn't have a suitable one in its range, and I can't use the one I have here because the part of the light housing that is modeled on the handle of the camera is in the way. I think that's an extreme pity, and I would have found it better if the focus had been on functionality rather than design. But I was told that Rollei is already working on its own solution for this. The Rollei Lux can be operated either in the classic way using a mains adapter, or, if no socket is available, with the optionally available battery handle or another sufficiently strong power bank, which can be connected via USB-C. The battery handle is extremely practical for mobile use and can be screwed directly to the bottom of the light and is connected to a cable specially provided for this purpose. Due to the high weight of the battery, you can also simply place the whole thing on a flat surface or screw it back onto a tripod using the thread on the underside. Really practical, but unfortunately not very cheap, which is why you will probably rarely have a spare with you. At least the battery grip has a small button that shows you how much juice you have left. Fully charged, you have 6,600 mAh at your disposal. How long this lasts is of course extremely dependent on the power you use on the lamp. Theoretically, you can also use the Rollei NPF adapter, which is actually intended for the Candela series. Although you will then have to find a solution for how to attach it, you can use the classic NPF batteries as a backup. All in all, I think that the Rollei Lux series is particularly suitable for those for whom size and weight play a major role. Especially if you travel a lot and are often in hotels, I can well imagine that. Then you don't need the battery grip and have a very light and compact setup that should fit into even the smallest of suitcases. If, on the other hand, you spend a lot of time out in nature or perhaps traveling by car, you have the option of having a really powerful light without an external power supply, even with the battery grip. In both cases, however, I would still think it would be cool if there was a special bag for exactly this light. Unfortunately, you have to store all the components loosely in a bag. The light could also be a great option for streamers, as its extremely flat design allows it to be placed very close to a wall, and the small softbox is actually ideal for such close distances. However, if you are looking for a light exclusively for your home video studio, I would probably go for something else due to the lack of a Bowens connection, such as the lights in the Candela series, if we want to stick with Rollei. Apart from that, however, the Lux series also offers extremely powerful video lights that are in no way inferior to much larger lights. You can find more information on this in my video description below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again in one of my next videos. Until then, take care, and goodbye.